So policing, I feel like police and teachers are similar in some way, in that their jobs have changed so radically over the last generation, in that they seem to be a catch-all for a lot of things that weren't their jobs so long ago. You agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We have taken on the role of more social service provider than we are law enforcers. And I think we're good with that, because we realize that enforcing laws is really just a small part of what we do anymore. It's really just providing great service for the community, whether it's through the Divert program, Women Helping Women, through mobile crisis, responding to traffic accidents. That is providing a service to the community. A lot of it gets wrapped around crime suppression, and rightfully so. I mean, that really has to be our number one goal, because without that, I think everything else suffers.
It is different, though. I mean, and I think police are under such incredible scrutiny and under fire right now. What is it like? 'Cause I don't think a lot of police officers would tell us right now. What is it like to face that and carry that with you every day?
We're going to put on that stoic face, and we're going to tell you that we are going to muster through all the different challenges that we have right now, from COVID, which has impacted the police department. We have to be very careful about when it hit in March. Where we struggled is we pulled back from the community because we were worried about infection. We were worried about decreasing our street strength, and we just didn't know. I don't think any of us knew exactly how COVID was going to play out in March and April. So when we pulled back from the community, we saw a precipitous increase in violence. We realized that we can get back out in the community in May and still do the things that we need to do, and we started to stabilize our shooting violence. And then May 29th hit, and we had our riots and our disturbances, and it really put us back, back on our heels again. And where we are now is, it seems like things are starting to once again stabilize, and hopefully we will be able to, move fully forward with our community policing initiatives. I know that, when I get to Virginia Beach, that's one of the first things that I've got to completely immerse myself in the community. And that's what they'll see, is everything that I've given Cincinnati Police Department for these last 30 years, and in the last almost 5 years as the Patrol Bureau's commander in this seat. We're going to get that in Virginia Beach.
So you said, you used the phrase, we were back on our heels a little bit. Are police officers afraid to get, is there a little bit of fear?
I don't say that it's fear, but cops are very astute. They know when they need to be a little bit more discerning and how they respond to things and what's expected of them. And I think nationally, and probably even locally to some extent, they are looking for clear direction from the community and those that represent them in elected capacities on what exactly you want from your police department.
I guess on that note, I'd ask you, has there ever been a time in which you feel the City Council has not fully supported CPD?
That's, I would say that regardless of the support that we have, or where they feel that there's a lack of support, we still have a job to do. And these are professional men and women, and no matter what their personal feelings are, they're gonna do the right thing.
You didn't want to answer that question directly, do you?
That's a hard question to answer.
Why?
We're surrounded by politics, and the job of policing is to remain apolitical. So there's other institutions that take up those battles and express the views of the men and women, but while we're wearing this uniform, we are apolitical.
Do you think that COVID and the pulling back, we had 3 homicides today.
Yes.
3 today. What is it? Is it that people think that the police are not going to be as present as they were before? What is going on?
I definitely think there was some of that when we pulled back and we're not as proactive in these hotspot areas, they realize that there's an opportunity for enhanced criminality. And we are starting to make strides. You know, we look at our 28-day numbers, and up until today, the last 28 days were actually better than the same time period last year, which was one of our best years on record. So we are starting to get back out in the community. We're starting to employ our violent crime strategies that we know have been very successful. You know, hopefully today is just an anomaly. I don't know all the facts, but for the last 28 days, we are definitely moving back in the right direction.
I'm trying to think if there's something else that I should be asking.
Yeah, I got two.
Oh, good.
Oh,
I love when Michael has questions. It's the best. Just
Two-
talk to me, though.
Two questions, talk to her. I'm going to start with the second one first, and that is, what's the pitch that you do to young people now that
Oh, wow.
that want to be police officers? Because it is a tough, you know,
Yes.
who
It's a
wants
tough
to
sell.
be a police officer?
Yes.
But before you answer that one, I forget what day it was in the demonstrations and stuff, but you were standing with all the officers in front of City Hall in a line, and you walked down the line and you engaged with the people that were protesting, and then you climbed over the bicycle barriers and engaged with it. What kind of cop are you? What does that say about the kind of cop you are?
You know, first and foremost, tell the young individuals that are looking at this that there is no greater profession. There is no nobler profession. It may be under attack right now, but you know, sometimes doing what's right can be unpopular. And if they want to truly live a life of service and give to the community, come wear the white hat.
It's a hard sell.
It is a hard sell, but I've lived it for 30 years. There's 1,000 men and women that live that every day, that put their life on the line for this community, and they believe it.
Do you ever wish you could reach out to those people who are so vehemently angry at police and just grab their shoulders and say, hey, listen to me, I want to tell you who we are? And what would you say to those people?
You know, what I would wish is that for 24, 48 hours, they could just see it through my eyes, see it through my perspective, and understand what we're trying to accomplish and how we're trying to do it, and that we're really trying to police in a very humane, empathetic manner. But you know, sometimes when it comes to crime, we do have to be law enforcers, and I think there's a misunderstanding that everything can be handled through, you know, lower tier methods, and it's not exactly completely true.
And then what was the second question you want to answer first? Oh, you stepped through the barricade.
Yes.
You did. You walked that line and then you stepped through the barricade.
Well, you know, first and foremost, I think I made sure my officers were good. And then, you know, I think what that says is, and that's what we want out of all of our police officers and our police executives. At some point, we have to put ourselves out there. It may be uncomfortable. I was unsure how that was going to go. I figured I would probably hear a whole lot of things that I didn't want to hear, but you have to have tough skin, and I was actually pleasantly surprised that by taking that initiative and going over the barricade to the protesters, you know, it made myself vulnerable, and I think a little bit of that vulnerability opened up an ability to communicate, and we had some great conversations. And out of those conversations came some relationships that lasted through, you know, the next several weeks of ongoing protest. So there was ongoing dialogue between the police department and certain segments of the protesters, and trust was established. And I think you know, it was critical. You know, I don't know if it was a defining moment, but it definitely was a moment that helped us manage the situation.
There seems to be a lack of trust by a percentage of Americans towards the police department. They don't trust the police. And I don't know if we're talking about CPD. I'm not necessarily saying that's the case, or Virginia Beach's police department, but I'm talking holistically. How do the police get that trust back?
Accountability, transparency. You know, one of the things that we learned from the collaborative agreement, the 2001 riots, is we have to be immediately transparent. Anytime something critical occurs. If it's a death in custody, a police intervention, the chief has done an outstanding job, and the chief's preceding him with us immediately. And as part of the media, within 24 to 48 hours, we're giving you everything that we can within reason. And I think that has went well to us establishing the trust with the community, that they know that we're going to give them information. They don't feel that we're hiding anything anymore for the vast majority of our citizens. And many times, if we're wrong, we will come out and tell you that we're wrong.
I think back to the 2001 riots, and I as a citizen of Cincinnati, that was a terrible time. It was a sad time for all of us to see what was happening in our city, to see what had occurred that led up to that. In some way, shape, or form, was it, and I guess I wondered, because based on what's happening right now with riots all over the country about policing, was it and I say this hesitantly, but I think you'll get what I'm saying, was it the best thing that could have happened, at least for CPD? And is it a possibility to show that good can come from such clashing times?
I think that's a very astute assessment, that what came out of 2001 was a completely revolutionary police department. Not just a collaborative agreement, but we have to remember that there was a memorandum of understanding that outlined several changes in use of force that became national models. So things that we adopted and adapted to in 2001 became best practice for other agencies throughout the rest of the 2000s. So it has really benefited us well. And yes, so you want to know what I'm going to miss? I'm going to miss being part of the men and women wearing the blue, because they have truly embraced a noble profession, and they love the city.
It's got to be hard to say goodbye.
It's a little difficult. It's a little surreal still.
When's your last day?
Last day on the books will be October 11th, but like I said, this is probably the last day that I'll be here in a uniform working capacity. I'm going to finally utilize some of that much accrued discretionary time that I haven't had a whole lot of opportunity to use over the last 5 years, and we're going to work to make a transition to this next chapter.